Judah. This story comes right in the middle of the Joseph stories, and I think for good reason. You have a contrast here between two great men. You have Joseph, who is a righteous man and willing to suffer for it. And you have Judah, who's an earthy man with a strong sense of right and wrong, but learns the hard way. Let's just jump right into Judah's life and look at him for a while. First of all, he moves about 15 miles away, marries a Canaanite woman, establishes a business, builds relationships. He's a man of the earth, man who makes decisions. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, but he has a strong sense of right and wrong. And as an example, this whole thing about his sons, but the oldest son dies and the second son must step up, that's his sense of right and wrong. You see, there's a focus on the birthright here. The oldest son, the birthright is passed down to him, and if he dies, then the second son is to marry the widow. So the first son can have an heir for that birthright. Now, whoever is supposed to step in the place there doesn't have to do it. Legally, they don't have to. Matter of fact, as you see in the story of Ruth, you can take off your shoe and hand it off, and that is saying, I'm not taking on this responsibility. I am passing it on to someone else. Interesting. Also, a part of that is that the widow could then, right then, walk up and spit in his face. You couldn't do a thing to her. It was legal. Well, this is what's all going on right here, trying to get this heir. But in the sense of right and wrong, he puts Tamar on hold. Sends her back to her father's house. I have a third son. I will give him to him. I will give him to you as soon as he's old enough. She's on hold. But then when the time comes, he does wrong. He doesn't give it to her. He's afraid. Well, man, with her, I have two sons already died. Maybe because of her, a third one will die. Oh, no. She's on hold. You can't do that to her. You see, if he had freed her up, she could then go find someone else, get a family, which be security for her. But she's on hold. She can't do that. Right and wrong, and this was a wrong. You also see this whole thing about adultery and prostitution. It was all right for him to go to a prostitute, but wrong for her to commit adultery. And that was true. In that day and age, that was the policy. You did not commit adultery. But a woman could become a prostitute. That was a legal thing that could happen. There are certain cultures today that where a woman, if she's not a businesswoman or she's not a housewife, she could become a prostitute, and that would be legal. And so it was in this Canaanite society right here. But yet, when it came down to it, and she confronted him with what had gone on here, how he had done wrong by keeping her on hold, he says these words, and this points out the whole point that I'm trying to make. She is more in the right than I am. That's very important to Judah. Well, in not the next story, but the one after, you have him stepping up, and all for family. He guarantees Benjamin. And then when Benjamin is about to be taken into slavery, he steps up and keeps his word. Again, this is right. It's not that he loved Benjamin all that much or even cared for his father all that much, but he did value family and birthright and right and wrong. And he gave his word, he steps up and says, take me instead. Earthy man, strong sense of right and wrong, hard learning things. But Joseph is a righteous man and one who's willing to suffer for his relationship with God. Both are great men. Joseph will lead Egypt and will lead his nation as long as he's alive. But Judah will become a head of a nation, the nation of Judah. And he is the head of the line that goes down to Christ. Both of these men, so different, so totally different, and yet both great men. Well, come back when we give you more insights on the story.